Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide. And today is a long overdue Q&A video. I haven't had time actually to do one of these, so let's dive in. And the first question is, for God's sake, how do you get a question mark on it? It's like 3 question marks, so I had to interpret the dramaticism of it to the best of my ability. And that actually relates to Remarkable 2. How do you get a question mark on it? So, alright, well, it's actually rather simple. So the simplest way for me to show you that is, let's say I want to rename. So I just go rename. And you see where the numbers are, you press that and here's the question mark right there. And if you're talking about the folio, well, there's a dedicated button there that's a plus, right? So you just go shift and that, and it just says right there, question mark, right there. The next question is actually a comment, but it's important one to address, and it is in relation to the battery life comparison that I did between the Boox Tab Ultra C Pro that uses Snapdragon 855 and this phone, my phone, OnePlus 7 Pro, that also uses the same CPU or SoC. And the comparison that I did was playback for 1 hour with the front light or backlight set at 50%, playback of a video YouTube on both of the devices, and basically seeing which device spends more battery juice. And the comment says, I would also say, like the other commenter, that the comparison to your phone is flawed, but for a different reason. E-ink consumption is lower under an assumption that the screen is not refreshed often. IPS OLED draw power to display the information. E-ink draws power to redraw the information. In other words, there's no sensation in the fact that in the YouTube test e-ink performs worse. I guess sensation should have been sense or something like that. And factually, all of the stuff that this viewer has said is correct. So the main advantage of an e-ink screen or e-ink technology is that it's able to redraw the image, and for that redrawing purpose, refreshing purpose, it draws power. But once it's done, it can hold that image on a screen theoretically indefinitely without using any power. That's because it uses ink cells and it physically rearranges e-ink cells within the display panel. On the other hand, the IPS OLED displays, they're constantly refreshing every single pixel of the display panel at a fixed rate, which is 30 Hz, 60 Hz, 120 Hz, 240 Hz. It's always redrawing everything and always is doing that multiple times per second. And obviously, if you're showing a static image, then e-ink should always have the advantage. But that is not a relevant measurement because there's no point of comparison between the battery performance and efficiency of an e-ink device as opposed to an OLED. The only way that I could actually get them on equal footing was to force an e-ink device to do what the OLED display does, which is refresh all the time all of the pixels throughout the series of the test. And the only way to do that, or the practical way to do that, was basically playback of the video. So no, it's not flawed. It's actually the only way that both the devices could be equally compared, because otherwise showing static images, that's not a comparison, because that's just simply being completely biased in favor of e-ink technology, and it's not a relevant point of comparison. Next question is in relation to the Amazon Scribe, and it is, can you search the handwritten notes on the device? Well, let's see. All right, so by default, bizarrely, in the notebook itself, there is no functionality to search. So you do not have an option to search. Even if you go here, we have page overview. There's no search option that I can actually see here. So if I go into here, that's notebook settings. There's no search there either. And in additional options, it's just go to page and delete current page. So notebooks do not support word search. However, what I wanted to try was if I export this as a PDF and then send it back, because it has the option of send via email, right? So I'm emailing this as a PDF back to this device via its dedicated email address, because I was hoping that, yeah, I was hoping that the Kindle service would actually work, but it doesn't. And why I wanted to do that is because as a PDF, or a converted PDF, in this case KFX, Kindle does have a search capability here. So I can search books and no, but is this a word search or no? So let's say exploration. Let's do here exploration, because yes, so then it actually goes through the search and it will find all of those words. So I wanted to confirm that by actually having a document here and then the one that I exported so that I can test it. But unfortunately, yeah, the instability, the insecurity of the horrible way that the Kindle Scribe is closed off and basically crippled by all of this means that I can't just simply test it out. I would now have to go to the computer and plug it in and then maybe test in something. But all chances are is that basically, yes, if you export a notebook as a searchable PDF and then you import that PDF back into the Kindle Scribe, you should be able to use the search functionality there. But that's a bit backwards. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's And another user, the same thing like just a little bit before about the Tab Ultra C Pro comparison with the phone battery performance, but again, it's kind of wrong, and this one is fully wrong. It says, your comparison with the mobile phone is flawed. You would have to increase the size of the phone screen to over 11 inches to be able to do that, or at least separate the power consumption from the screen and calculate for bigger size. That's just factually completely incorrect, because the size has, contrary to popular belief, has nothing to do with the power consumption. The resolution of the display does. And actually, my phone has slightly higher resolution than the Tab Ultra C Pro. So why does that matter? Well, the resolution defines the number of pixels that have to be refreshed in order to actually display the picture. And less pixels you have, lower the resolution is, less work the SoC or the CPU and the GPU have to do, which means less power draw. So that's why your video games will run faster or slower on different resolutions that you actually use on the same hardware, right? So that's something that you actually have to keep in mind. Size has close to nothing to do with the battery consumption. It's the resolution that counts, not the size. Next one is in regards to the MDO, my daily organizer. And the question is, I love MDO. Thank you. Great. I've got some questions. Would I be able to sync two-way both PDF annotations between my Boox Air 2 Plus and Remarkable 2? Generally, the answer to that question would be no, because these are not cross-compatible platforms, meaning none of them actually have a proprietary format that can communicate with each other. That being said, what you can do is, for example, set up both of them to actually export to one of your centralized cloud accounts, because both of them can export to Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive, for example. So let's say your Google Drive is your centralized cloud hub. What you can do is you do MDO filling in on the Note Air 3C, so you do all of that, and then you can set it up that it automatically exports to a certain location, then you can synchronize it to Google Drive. Manual synchronization is required on the Boox platform. So that means that your document, MDO, that has been newly annotated, there's going to be an exported PDF version on your Google Drive, and then you can head on to your Remarkable 2 and pull that newly exported version with new markups from the Google Drive onto your Remarkable, continue your annotations here, and then when you need to put it back, then you do the same thing, which is export from the Remarkable 2, the newly annotated version is new, or overwrite the old one, it doesn't matter, on your Google Drive, set that back, go back to Note Air 3C and get the new file from there, and that's it. So there's no automatic way to do that. And also, every time you do this, the efficiency of the size of the original MDO is going to be lost, because none of these devices have optimized ways of exporting PDF files. So the MDO size is no longer going to be optimal once you actually start doing that. And also, if you do export that way, I would highly recommend that you use the bitmap or image option of exporting the PDF, which actually means that you're going to lose the ability to select the text or edit it in any way. So that's a very important point. But what do you gain? Well, the size is going to be manageable and controllable. If you use vector exporting, vector variation of PDF exporting, the file size is gonna grow really uncontrollably a lot. And then it's going to become slower and slower and slower and slower. I think this one is going to stop responding first, because its performance and its capabilities are far lower than what the Boox Note Air 3C has. So that is a workaround, that how you could do it. But if you want to go through with that, then I would recommend exporting as bitmap images. But do remember that you lose the ability to edit or manipulate any of the already baked in entries in MDO that way. And the next question is for the Tab Ultra C Pro, and it says, can you type and record at the same time? Well, let's see. So there's like two ways that I would go about this, two use case scenarios that I can see. First one is that you can have the recorder app running separately. So that's a typical recorder app, right? And then I would also open up and have my Google Docs. So let's go here, and for example, if this is in Google Docs, let's say this is where I want to be, and then I can just simply go to the recorder. I can start my recording. Let's see, oh, is it there? Yeah. Now we are recording. I can swipe back to my untitled document, and here I can normally type my notes while the device is recording the sound. This type of use case scenario is very useful. Useful, if I would find an F, useful. And we could add a space here for lectures, conferences, meetings, etc. So I'm gonna swap back now to the recorder, hit stop, and let's see what we have. So I guess I can play it. Right, so that works. So that definitely works, but you would be the one who's responsible for organizing, synchronizing, and doing all of these things. So this is completely separate, two separate apps, and you would have to kind of merge it all together and organize it, but definitely doable in that case. The other way that you might be able to do this is there is a functionality of a screen recorder in a notepad. So if I go and create a notepad in a general notepad, and let's just create a blank one, and you can definitely type, because you can add a text box here. So I can just expand it and move it all the way up to the corner, and there we go, and that's my text box, right? So how would this work? I would need to insert also on recorder. So here's my recorder, and it's automatically recording. I guess I can minimize it, and then I can go back to my text, and it's a little bit kind of wonky and strange. And let's move the recorder thing down here, and my text has not even started. I should probably have added a title to the text, then I wouldn't have these issues. But now I am also able to type in my notebook while the system is still, well, I would need a space here, still recording the audio. But this time I am doing everything in one app, meaning the notebook. On top of all of this, I could continue writing or hand writing. Okay, so that's enough. Oh, well, something went, no, and we crashed. So that was a very useful test because yeah, it just crashed. And I don't even have the notebook. The notebook is nowhere to be found. Let's try again. And let's try again and let's see. So this time the order of business should be, I would first add a text box. Oh, come on, there we go. This is my title. I have to say that the precision that you see here, the problems that I have, is due to the app itself. The note-taking app, the input, the way it processes text in Textbox is really not optimized and does not work good to use it as a keyboard. And it's really laggy and it's just not that good. But because especially when you go from like typing with the same setup on Google Docs or Word or anything like that, when you go into this, then it's suddenly like, oh my god, the keyboard is laggy. No, it's the app. The app is super laggy. And as soon as you get into the Boox's software solutions, you just see how inferior they are and unoptimized and unpolished. And this is another example of that. So on paper, yes, we do have the functionality of having a text, having a recording, so I should be able to just tap here. And now I should be able to type my notes while the system is recording. Last time I tried to do this, the whole app crashed and all of the work was lost due to the notebook not having been saved. Not my mother tongue, but maybe not having been saved. This doesn't seem correct, but whatever. I'm trying to see if I can replicate the crash and also to see how the reliability of the typing is when using the text box. So there we go. It's still recording here. It stopped. The text box probably has a limit of some sort, so maybe it can't go further than that. So okay, let's see what the recording says. What? Have I crashed again? Yes. So this is completely unstable. Let's see if we have, there's a dedicated text notebook that we can have here, and we do have a recording option. So we are now recording, and now I am typing my notes. I can see the same lag issues, like when typing in a text box, but it is slightly better. This seems to be the intended way of using these tools, and so far it seems to be stable. At the very least, the workflow is far more immediate and straightforward. Okay, not as... Dude. It's not dude, it's me. I'm hitting enter. All right, so this is fairly stable. So let's play.
Recording option. So we are now recording, and now I am typing my notes. I can see the same lag issues like when.
Okay, so I can definitely record and type, and I can type while listening as well. I definitely would not recommend, so let's go export, so saving notes. That's why the last one, that's why when it crashes there's no note, because it actually saves it only when it exits, right? So all of it has been explained here for me, at least, the crashing of the creating a regular notepad. So for me, I think if you want to record audio and type as well, you should definitely use the typing notebook, not the handwriting notebook. And then it seems to be working okay. But do keep in mind that there is a lag, the typing lag that is in that app for some reason, and it's not present at all in Google Docs, for example. So something to keep in mind. But yes, you can actually do it in these two different ways. Next question is, would you recommend Supernote or Remarkable for an author artist? So I assume that the primary purpose of this would be for writing purposes. And yeah, between these two, unquestionably for that type of use case scenario, it would have to be the Supernote A5X, A5X2, A6X, A6X2, really depends what you want. But the Supernote platform, that is the one, even though it's a lot more pricier than the Remarkable 2, it's just a lot, offers so much more flexibility and functionality than the Remarkable 2, especially with linking, with titles for chapters, with searchable stuff, because you can actually make it as a handwriting recognizable notebook if you start doing it that way from the start. So it just has a lot more to actually offer than the Remarkable 2. And then there's also the writing quality and the integration, and you can work completely offline if you want and still export you can back up your native notebooks and in a native format. You can back it up locally. You don't have to rely on the unreliability of flash storage or external servers and things like that. And if you're thinking about privacy, well, you can do pretty much everything that you want on a Supernote in offline mode, while that's certainly not true for the Remarkable. So the list goes on and on and on and on. But yeah, unquestionably for those and myriad of other reasons, I would recommend Supernote A5X, or maybe wait for the A5X2, because it's supposed to be close and it is a big investment. So maybe wait for that. I'm not really sure. We have to see how the A6X2 turns out to be, and that's going to be a very strong indication on whether or not and what advantages or disadvantages the new device from Supernote or from Rata brings when compared to the old reigning champion. Now the next comment / question is in regards to the Boox Tab Ultra C, and it says, excellent video as always. Thank you very much. But despite the awful battery life, I guess we lose track of what is the most important issue about using e-ink device, and that is eye strain. So for the use case of people that work long hours in front of the screen, that relief might be enough to sacrifice poor battery performance. Thanks again for the great work. Well, I do agree definitely that the number one advantage is and always has been health-related benefits and advantages of using an e-ink screen versus a IPS or an OLED type of panel. So that is without question always number one. But a very close second was and is and should be the battery life. And while it may not be a huge turnoff, we are approaching now a situation where you have an e-ink tablet device with a battery performance that's worse than an equivalent IPS or OLED powered tablet. And that is a problem that people absolutely have to be aware of. So yes, I agree. Point number one, health-related benefits of using an e-ink screen, unquestionably. Point number two, just because it's under that one and it's on second place, it doesn't mean that it's something that we should ignore or that the manufacturers should be allowed to actually ignore. They need to figure this stuff out. Now, another question about my personal use case. Of the remarkable Supernote and Boox, what do you use every day and love? On an everyday basis, I use the Note Air 3C and the Supernote A5X. Supernote A5X I use for writing and note-taking work-wise, work-related. What does that mean? If I'm doing video game development, system development, and basically figuring out the logic between the systems that I'm going to be developing and doing calculations and all of that kind of stuff, and forming this intricate, interconnected map of documents and designs and notebooks, all of that is done on the Supernote, because it has two features that are irreplaceable for me, and I have a dedicated video about that, which are the titles and the linking capability. So for that reason, this one is completely irreplaceable for me, because that workflow is a godsend for me. It's just really, really good. Now, Note Air 3C is basically everything else that's not a computer, or some computer stuff has merged and flooded over onto it, and some of the smartphone stuff has also flooded onto it. So it is actually taking on tasks that I was doing on two separate devices, merging them into one, and also doing some more stuff as well. So what does that entail? Reading, document markup, absolutely. Like any kind of document markup, research and stuff, it's going to be this one. Or the Tab X, so depending on the document stuff. But usually I prefer this because it's more portable and a little bit kind of easier. So when I do finish and set it down on a task, it doesn't take that much room, because Tab X is huge. But then again, you have that awesome real estate of Tab X. So really depends on the case-by-case scenario. But percentage-wise, I use this far more often. And basically, note-taking, journaling, for example. So my MDO, MMP, when I'm using them, they are on this device, because writing is absolutely excellent. It's just that those two functionalities I really do prefer, and I depend upon on the Supernote, right? So yeah, there's linking here, but it's not good. It really doesn't work that good. So this is like a template, centralized hub for everything else is Note Air 3C. And also, of the two, I'm more passionate and I more love the Note Air design, and therefore Note Air 3C I'm a little bit more kind of giddy about when using it. That doesn't mean that I don't love Supernote A5, not at all. I mean, I love it a lot. It's just that this one is a little bit more exciting for me. Next is actually a comment about regarding the latest update for the Kindle Scribe. And the comment says, I still maintain that this is a deliberate strategy by Amazon to broaden the market for e-ink devices across non-technical users, average Kindle readers, by introducing simply writing pad initially. Then introducing upgrades in a slow way that allows the same users to learn and absorb easily. I think an overly complex device initially would have lost many Kindle readers. The e-ink market has been very niche, and I think this approach is aimed at broadening the market dramatically, and it is working. And I do agree. That being said, I do get that if this is a strategy to take it kind of slow, maybe they could speed it up a little bit, and maybe they are, maybe they should have a little bit more faith in an average Kindle user to be able to actually grow and understand and absorb new knowledge and new skills at a faster rate. I'm fairly certain that that is a possibility, and if this is a deliberate technique, yes, I see the point where it makes sense, but I think it's way too slow and it's way too reserved. Next question is in relation to the Note Air 3C, and it says, "Hi Voya, I'm curious how this would work for reading and annotating music. I see from your room that you're a keen guitarist, and I'm curious about which e-reader you would use for reading scores or charts. I know that most people say 10.3 inches is too small for music, but does the increased PPI make it an acceptable compromise? I'm hoping to find something to replace all of my paper scores that I would also use to read books." And actually there is a way that I do use it when I'm learning a new song or something like that. I do use the 10.3-inch device, in this case the Note Air 3C, even though I do have the Tab X. So absolutely, Tab X with its larger format is much cleaner and easier to read off of, but it does take a lot of room. Note Air 3C, if you flip it into the horizontal orientation, well, let me just show you. All right, so here is the example of what I mean. So generally speaking, this is too small for me at any kind of even normal distance to comfortably read. It's, especially when combined with the darkness of the Kaleido screen, yes, you can pump up the battery, the front light, but that affects the battery, etc., etc. But what you can do is you can flip it to the horizontal mode and then simply go to Format and make Fit Width. So once you do that, then the size is actually a lot better, and this is something that I can comfortably see and read from any distance. And the cool thing about it, a really cool thing about it, is that now the next page command is not going to flip to the next page. No, it's going to flip down to the until you reach the end of the page, and then it's going to flip to the next page, down to the page, next page, down to the page. If you want to use this as a live reading of music, then you would definitely need to invest in a Bluetooth page turner device, which is something that these Boox devices actually support, because then you can remotely, it's like a pedal, so you can use pedals for next page, previous page, and then you can pair that with your Note Air 3C or whichever tablet that you want, and then your next page and previous pages, when you set it up like this, will actually work like this. And there's also, I believe that there's a setting, I'm don't know if they've changed it or not, but there used to be a setting where you can auto fit the document to width, and then you don't even have to do the whole shebang. It's like when you actually flip it to the side, it will automatically fit to width and behave like that. So you could use it in this kind of context, and yeah, it would look like this. And the last one is again about the Amazon Kindle Scribe, and it has fantastic review. Greatly appreciate the thoroughness. Thank you very much for watching and for the kindness. Shame on Amazon, this is even worse than I expected. Well, you should check the updates that have happened in the past year, because the platform has moved on a little bit. Not by a lot, but a little bit. I wonder how different does this really feel to write on versus a Remarkable 2, Tab Ultra, whatever, or Supernote. I just seriously doubt that the difference of less than 10 milliseconds is even noticeable, let alone in this context. Seems like pen latency and writing experience can be conflated, and that this would be a great way to mislead people. I actually disagree. I do understand that the common sense would dictate that you can't see, or how noticeable would that 10 millisecond difference be, and in actuality it is something that you most definitely see and feel, especially if you actually use Kindle Scribe for a while, and then you go back to the Remarkable, then Remarkable suddenly starts feeling slow. So absolutely, the perception of difference is there, and mainly because our eyes, they work at around 60 frames per second, but there's a persistency of vision thing that also makes it possible for us to perceive a difference. That's why you actually see a difference in smoothness between a 60 Hz or 60 FPS display and 120 Hz FPS display. So both will feel smooth, but 120 hertz will feel smoother, and you will be able to perceive the difference between these two. And here we're talking about far, far, far faster and smaller numbers, yet we do perceive them. So of course, when we're talking about something that's quite a bit slower than these differences, yeah, you definitely do notice it. All right, so that was the Q&A session, first one for December. There might be another one coming later on, because usually there's quite a lot of questions coming up, and especially between the videos that I'm going to be putting out, it's going to be an interesting thing to kind of cover these things. And plus, I actually enjoy doing these quite a lot, so yeah, I'm probably going to be doing another Q&A here. So if you want me to address some of those questions, please do include them in the comments down below, because that is the absolute best way for me to collate all of these things in one place and, you know, kind of get to them in a good way. I hope that you find the video interesting and useful. If you did, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell in the description down below. And also remember to check out the mydeepguide.com/shop, where you can find the MDO, My Daily Organizer, and the MMP, My Deep Guide Meeting Planner. Both are hyperlinked PDF files that help you, MDO helps you organize your entire year and plan it in a really, really, really good way. And the MMP is there to help you centralize, simplify, and organize your meeting planning needs. If you want to learn more about these things, you have the descriptions down below, you have the playlists, and that contains a lot of information to make it really easy for you to decide, hey, these products are for me or not for me. And I just want to mention that purchasing of these products directly helps the independence of My Deep Guide, and it helps the channel grow, and it helps the channel stability. So thank you for considering it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye.